In Lesson 3, the use of acknowledgments in classroom management will be addressed. In this lesson, the learning target focused is, I can use acknowledgment strategies to increase positive interactions within my classroom. Why focus on acknowledgment? Acknowledgment is important to the establishment of relationships. To build relationships, the teacher demonstrates knowledge and caring for the student. Interactions between the teacher and students are respectful. Acknowledgments may be contingent, meaning given as a positive feedback for appropriate behaviors, or non-contingent, meaning provided regardless of the student's behaviors. Acknowledgments are used to increase desirable, appropriate behavior in the classroom and is one of the evidence-based practices. As with all evidence-based practices, it is important to practice acknowledgment with fidelity. According to research, there's a 31% reduction in discipline problems in schools where staff members develop positive relationships with students. Refer to Marzano and Marzano. This statistic illustrates the importance of establishing positive relationships with your students, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. Next, we are going to talk about motivation. Everyone is more likely to perform better when motivated. What motivates a specific person is an individual preference. Reinforcement is the evidence-based practice that we use to motivate students. Reinforcement is a consequence following a student's behavior that increases the likelihood that the response will occur again in the future. A reinforcer is anything, an activity, item, or social interaction the student wants to gain. A teacher uses reinforcers as a way to acknowledge good behavior from a student. Reinforcement is the evidence-based practice that may be used to motivate students when teaching new skills, teaching a replacement behavior for an interfering behavior, increasing appropriate behaviors, increasing on-task behavior, or maintaining desired classroom expectations, behaviors, or associated roles. To fully understand reinforcement, we need to review the three-term contingency, or what is known as the ABCs of behavior. ABC stands for antecedent A, behavior B, and consequence C. Research tells us that if the consequence is something desired, then it will strengthen the behavior that precedes it. Watch the segment from The Big Bang Theory from CBS television. Look for the ABCs and the interactions between Penny and Sheldon. The purposes of reinforcement includes fostering a welcoming and positive environment, focusing staff and student attention to desired behaviors, increasing the likelihood that desired behaviors will be increased, and reducing the amount of time spent managing interfering behavior of students. Why focus on reinforcement? Reinforcement and effective acknowledgement can increase many types of behaviors, including on-task behavior, correct responses, work productivity, accuracy, attention, and compliance in cooperative play in younger students. It is the main tool in instruction, whether it be academic skills, social skills, self-regulatory skills, or functional skills. Students with significant disabilities are typically motivated by extrinsic or tangible motivators. These tangible motivators can be used to foster intrinsic motivation to learn, which comes from mastering tasks. Watching someone else receive reinforcement has also been found to have an impact on behavior. For example, casinos have bells and other noises purposely to draw the attention of others when someone hits the jackpot. This has a vicarious effect that may be long-lasting. Reinforcement is critical when teaching a new skill. Providing motivation to students through reinforcement practices may be especially helpful with students when needing to learn a new skill that they may not be interested in, needing to learn a new skill and don't understand the importance of it, or needing to maintain or generalize a skill already learned. Preference assessments are used to determine reinforcers that may be used to motivate students with significant disabilities. Preference assessments identify what a person prefers and may be an item, activity, or person. It may also be used to rank the value of an item by identifying whether it's a high preference or a low preference value to the student. There is also certain conditions under which preferences change. In other words, lack of the item for a period of time, or just having the item, and a preference assessment may be able to identify these conditions. There are 4 basic ways to complete a preference assessment. Ask the student if they are able to communicate effectively. Another is to observe the student and see what he or she spends her free time doing. Another way is to ask caregivers through a written reinforcement survey. Finally, we may complete a formal preference assessment where we set up situations to see what the person will choose from different options in order to identify the relative value of the items. This is an example of a free operant observation, a type of formal preference assessment used to assess a student's preferences. Several items were put out for the student to have access to during free play. The teacher kept track of the number of minutes that the student interacted with each item. Look at the data above. What is the most valued item to the student? What is the next valued item? Identify the item that the student had the least interest in. The student appeared to value the items in this order: flashlight, toy car, slinky, and pirate ship. Note, this was only one observation. This data may be misleading if the flashlight was a novel item that he did not have exposure to in the past. To verify this information, other observations would need to be conducted. There are 5 basic types of motivators typically used for students with significant disabilities. These motivators include effective praise, vicarious praise, non-contingent attention, class-wide motivation systems, and individual motivation systems. Praise. The definition of praise is a positive statement given when a desired behavior occurs to inform students what they did well. A functional analysis of praise was conducted by Brophy in 1981 and determined a comprehensive list of guidelines for effective praise. The study also examined attributes of ineffective praise. In the next few slides, we will discuss these guidelines for effective praise. Review the items on the self-assessment on praise located in Activity Number 1. Activity Number 1 is located in the link below. Mark the current status of praise in your classroom for each item. Identify each item for priority for improvement. Develop a plan for priorities for improvement. Pause the video now to complete the self-assessment. Acknowledgement using effective praise should include specific statements about the appropriate behavior students are demonstrating. You did a great job counting numbers. Or, I can see everyone is working very hard on this assignment. Effective strategies avoid simple and repetitive phrases such as good job or nice work. These comments are not specific enough and when overused tend to become background noise which students cease to hear. Acknowledgement using effective praise should be provided dependent on students meeting classroom academic and/or behavioral expectations and should be provided immediately following the behavior. Praising students later can diminish the effectiveness of the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement using effective praise should be teacher-initiated rather than asked for by the student. Waiting for a student to say, "Look what I've done," is far less effective than the teacher catching the student demonstrating the appropriate behavior and acknowledging it immediately. Acknowledgement strategies using effective praise are most effective when they focus on improvement and effort. For example, "Josh, today you have 5 of your homework problems correct. That's 2 more than yesterday. I can see that you're working hard to improve." Or, "Terry, thanks for being on time today. I appreciate your effort in being a responsible student." To enhance effectiveness of praise, provide acknowledgement more frequently when students are first learning a new skill. Gradually fade the acknowledgement strategy as the skill is mastered. Then refocus high rates of acknowledgement on new skills that need to be developed. Acknowledgement strategies using effective praise always compare students' work with their previous work and skill level, such as letting a student know their performance is better than it was during a previous lesson or day. Avoid statements such as, "John, you did a better job of staying in line than Amy did," or "Jerry did the best work today." These types of acknowledgement compare students and may unintentionally create unwanted competition. Finally, acknowledgement strategies of effective praise will only be effective if they are meaningful to students. Students from different backgrounds, experiences, and socioeconomic status will respond differently to particular types of acknowledgement. This is why it is important to consider planning for a hierarchy of alternative acknowledgement strategies. Effective praise is descriptive and points out to the student the behavior appreciated. Use a variety of superlatives. Try not to use the same one over and over. Students will get tired of hearing it. An example would be good. State the behavior clearly what you want to see more of. This will take some practice and may appear awkward at first. A couple of examples of descriptive praise includes neat handwriting. Great that you started working immediately. Nice sharing. Take a moment to pause the video and refer to handout 1 below, 50 opportunities to say you're terrific. It has a variety of appropriate behaviors that you may look for within a classroom. During this video with high school students, the teacher is completing a lesson on cliché. Watch this video and write down the exact words the teacher says when using descriptive praise. The teacher provided the following descriptive praise statements to 2 students. Student 1, "Quiet as a mouse is perfect. That is a cliché." Student 2. Hard as a rock is a good one. Vicarious reinforcement is our tendency to repeat or duplicate behaviors for which others are being acknowledged. When one or several students are not following directions, pick out one student who is following directions and praise explicitly. An example: Mary, I like how you are seated and waiting for the story. Soon other students are seated appropriately to wait for the story. This is a very effective strategy, often overlooked. View the video for information on vicarious reinforcement. Think about how vicarious reinforcement could be used in your classroom. Identify 2 to 3 situations where you may try this strategy.